The war had changed. It was no longer a simple invasion. It was something else, something the Zira Dominion had never faced before. Inside the Dominion flagship, the command room was no longer calm. Screens were filled with reports, losses, delays, failed strategies, words they were not used to seeing. One officer spoke carefully. "We are losing more units than expected." Another added, "Human resistance is increasing across all regions." A third said, "Our models are no longer accurate." That was the biggest problem. Their system was failing. The Dominion had always relied on perfect calculations. They studied every enemy. They predicted every move. They controlled every outcome. But humans were breaking that system. The High Leader stood in silence, watching battle data flow across the screens. He finally gave a new order. "Stop attacking blindly." The room went quiet. "Begin full analysis of the human species." For the first time, the Dominion stopped seeing humans as targets and started seeing them as a problem. Data teams began their work. They collected everything. Human history, human wars, human behavior, human communication. What they found was confusing. One analyst spoke first. "Humans fight each other more than any species we have seen." Another added, "They are divided by borders, ideas, beliefs." A third said, "They should not be able to unite." The High Leader asked one simple question. "Then why are they fighting us together?" No one answered. The data continued. Human history showed endless conflict, wars, violence, competition. But it also showed something else. When faced with a common threat, humans changed. One report displayed a key observation. Humans are divided in peace, but united in danger. Another analyst spoke. "They do not require a single leader. They form groups instantly. They share information without control. They adapt without permission." The room became silent again. This was not normal. Every other species followed order, clear command, clear structure. But humans had no fixed system, and somehow that made them stronger. Another report appeared on the screen. Emotional response high. One officer said, "This is a weakness." But the analyst shook his head. No. He zoomed in on battlefield data. When they lose, they do not retreat. When they are afraid, they do not freeze. When they are hurt, they become more aggressive. The High Leader stepped closer to the screen. "Explain." The analyst took a breath. Humans convert emotion into action. Fear becomes courage. Pain becomes anger. Loss becomes motivation. Silence, heavy silence. Another report appeared. Adaptation speed extremely high. The data showed how fast humans were changing. Weapons modified in hours. Strategies updated in minutes. Communication evolving constantly. One officer said, "This rate is not possible." Another replied, "They are not following logic." The High Leader spoke slowly. "They are following survival." That changed everything. More reports came in. Human units continue fighting even when defeat is certain. No surrender signals detected in most regions. Civilians actively joining resistance. One young officer looked confused. Why would civilians fight? They are not soldiers. An older commander answered quietly. In their minds, there is no difference anymore. That was the moment it became clear. Humans were not just an army. They were something else. They were a species that refused to stop. In another part of the ship, a psychological analysis team reached a final conclusion. The report was short, simple, but terrifying. Humans are not weak. They are not disorganized. They are not broken. The final line appeared. They are dangerous. Back in the command room, no one spoke after reading it. The High Leader looked at Earth again, but this time, he saw it differently. Not a weak planet, not an easy target, but a world full of fighters. Below, the war continued. Humans were still struggling, still losing in many places, but they were not collapsing. They were growing stronger. Every hour, every battle, every loss. In one ruined city, a small group of survivors prepared for another fight. They had little left, few weapons, low energy, no support. One of them said, "We can't win this." Another looked at the sky and replied, "Then we fight anyway." That was the truth. Back in orbit, the Dominion began to feel something new, something they had not felt in a long time. Not just doubt, not just concern. Fear. Because they understood now. This war would not end quickly. This enemy would not surrender, and this species would not break. The High Leader gave a quiet order. Prepare defensive formations. An officer looked shocked. Defensive? We are the invaders. The High Leader did not look at him. He kept watching Earth. For now, he said slowly, we survive. That single sentence changed everything. The Zyra Dominion, the rulers of thousands of worlds, were no longer thinking about victory. They were thinking about survival. And on Earth, humanity was just getting started. The war reached a turning point. For days, humans had been fighting to survive. Now, they were ready to fight back. Across Earth, something changed. The fear was still there. The destruction was still everywhere. But now, there was something stronger than fear. Confidence. Humans had learned. They had studied alien weapons. They had tested new ideas. They had failed many times. But now, they were ready. In a hidden underground base, a group of engineers stood around a new machine. It was built from broken alien parts and human technology. It was not perfect. It was not stable, but it worked. One engineer smiled slightly. Let's send it. Above the planet, a Dominion ship moved slowly, scanning for threats. It had strong shields. It had never been touched, until now. From the ground, a strange signal was sent. Not like a missile, not like a drone, something new. The alien systems tried to scan it. They failed. For a moment, the ship's shield flickered, then went dark. Warning, shield failure! The alien crew reacted fast, but it was too late. A wave of human attacks followed immediately. Missiles, drones, energy bursts, all at once. The ship could not defend. It exploded in orbit. Back on Earth, people watched the sky light up. Another victory, but this one was different. This was not luck. This was planned. In the Dominion flagship, alarms filled the room. Shield systems compromised. Unknown human technology detected. Multiple ships under attack. The commanders were no longer calm. This should not be possible.
They are using our own systems.
How? The High Leader watched everything in silence. But now, there was no doubt left. Humans were not just resisting anymore. They were evolving. Across the battlefield, human forces launched coordinated attacks. Not perfect, but smarter. Small human fleets built from captured alien ships moved through space. They were not as advanced, but they were fast and unpredictable. One human pilot sat inside a modified alien fighter. The controls were different. The system was unstable, but he smiled. Let's try this. He launched forward faster than before. Alien ships detected him. Target approaching. Identify unknown signature. They hesitated for 1 second. That was enough. The human ship moved in sharp angles. Too fast, too strange. Alien targeting systems struggled to lock. Fire! Laser shots missed. Again and again, the human pilot got closer. Now you see us, he whispered. Now you don't. He released a burst of energy directly into an alien engine core. The ship lost power instantly, then exploded. More human ships followed. Not in formation, not in order, but together. The Dominion tried to respond. They activated stronger defenses. They changed strategies. They increased firepower. But something was wrong. Nothing worked like before, because humans were no longer reacting. They were leading the fight. On Earth, soldiers pushed forward into areas once controlled by alien forces. Cities that were destroyed were taken back, step by step, street by street. In one major zone, alien ground forces held a strong position. Heavy defense, strong weapons. Impossible to break. Human forces did not attack directly. Instead, they waited. They watched. They learned. At night, small teams moved silently. They planted devices. They hacked systems. They created confusion. Then, at the perfect moment, everything activated. Alien defenses shut down for a few seconds. Communication failed. Sensors went blind. And humans attacked. From every side. Fast, aggressive, relentless. The alien line broke. For the first time, they retreated. That moment spread across the battlefield. Aliens are falling back. Repeat, enemy retreating. Hope turned into belief. Belief turned into power. Back in space, the Dominion fleet began to pull away from Earth's surface, not fully retreating, but no longer advancing. The High Leader stood still, watching everything. One officer asked carefully, "What are your orders?" For a long moment, there was no answer. Then finally, the High Leader spoke. "They are pushing us back." No one in the room had ever heard those words before. Another officer said, "We can still win. We just need more force." The High Leader slowly shook his head. No. He looked at the burning planet below. This is no longer about force. The room stayed silent. They are not afraid of losing. He continued, "They are not afraid of death. They are not afraid of us." That was the real problem, because every other species feared the Dominion. That fear made them weak. That fear made them surrender. But humans had no such fear anymore. They had lost too much, seen too much, fought too hard. Now, they only moved forward. Another report came in. Human forces advancing in multiple regions. Alien units unable to hold positions. Fleet stability decreasing. The High Leader closed his eyes for a second, then gave a quiet order. Prepare fallback routes. The officer froze. Fallback? The High Leader opened his eyes again. Cold, serious. If we stay, he said slowly, we lose everything. For the first time in their history, the Zira Dominion was not thinking about conquering. They were thinking about escape. And on Earth, humanity was not done yet. They were not just fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting to win. The alien fleet hung over Earth like a dark storm, but something had changed. For the first time, their movements were cautious, uncertain. Commander Arik, Voss and his strike team had completed the first phase of Dr. Singh's plan. They had hacked a smaller alien ship, and now the chain reaction was beginning. In orbit, the alien mothership shivered as if it could feel a virus crawling through its system. Alien commanders shouted in a language humans couldn't understand, their precise orders breaking down. Ships that had been coordinated and deadly moments ago now collided with one another. The humans watching from their hidden bases could hardly believe it. This was working. Arik, Mara, and the team suited up for the final assault. Their target, the core of the mothership. Every human fighter in the sky had been called to hold back the rest of the alien forces, buying the strike team just enough time. The odds were astronomical, but surrender was not an option. As their ship approached the mothership, alarms blared. Alien defenses were still formidable, and the sky lit up with laser fire. Mara's fingers danced across the control panels, guiding them through the openings created by the chaos in the alien fleet. Almost there, she whispered. Inside the mothership, everything was cold and alien. The walls pulsed with energy, like veins carrying electricity. Arik led the team down the narrow corridors, every step a calculated risk. They could be detected at any moment. But somehow, the aliens were disoriented. The hacking had spread like wildfire. At the core, Dr. Singh's plan reached its climax. The device they had created, a small, glowing orb of energy, was set to trigger a chain reaction that would destabilize the mothership from inside. It was fragile, volatile, and humanity's only hope.
Set it!
Arik commanded. Mara carefully placed the device on the core. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then a low hum began, growing louder. Lights flickered and the walls trembled. Alien screams echoed through the corridors, strange and terrifying. "Everyone get out!" Arik yelled. The team sprinted back to their ship as the mothership began to collapse from within. Explosions rippled through the fleet, and the alien ships in orbit crashed into each other like falling stars. From Earth, humans looked up in awe and fear as the sky lit up with fire, smoke, and debris. In the cockpit, Arik exhaled for the first time in weeks. Mara smiled, exhausted but alive. The chain reaction had worked. Humanity had turned the tide. Back on the planet, survivors emerged from hiding. They saw ships burning in the sky, alien technology falling into ruins. Cheers erupted. Humans hugged strangers, cried openly, and finally allowed themselves to feel hope. The alien leader, trapped in its collapsing mothership, realized its mistake too late. Humans were not just survivors, they were unpredictable, adaptable, and determined. It was a species that could not be underestimated. Arik addressed the remnants of the human fleet. Today, we fought not just for survival, but for every life lost. We've shown the universe that humanity will not kneel. This is just the beginning. We rebuild. We grow stronger. And if they return, we will be ready. Mara nodded beside him. They'll think twice before attacking again. Earth is not weak. Dr. Singh, wiping soot from her face, added, and maybe, just maybe, they've learned that humans are a species that fights back. We don't give up. We adapt. The world had been scarred, but humanity had survived. Cities would rise again, stronger and smarter. Technology captured from alien ships promised a new era. Humans had faced extinction and had come out victorious, not because they were perfect, but because they were clever, resilient, and united. As the sun rose over the broken horizon, Earth was quiet for the first time in weeks. Birds sang, rivers flowed, and the wind carried the smell of smoke and hope. Humanity had survived the impossible, and somewhere in the far reaches of space, other civilizations had taken notice. A new reputation for humanity was being forged, one of cunning, courage, and the fierce refusal to be conquered. Commander Arik Voss looked at the rising sun. "We survived them," he said quietly. "And we'll survive anything else that comes. Because this is Earth, and we fight for it." The sky, once a sign of fear, now reflected resilience. Humanity had endured. Humanity had won, and the story of Earth would echo through the stars.